Okay, think about this. What if you could actually know your body's real age? Not just the candles on the cake, but the age that really matters for your future health.
And what if the key to, turning back that clock, or at least slowing it down, lies in simple choices you make every single day?
Exactly. That's what we're diving into today. We're going beyond just the usual eat your veggies, get some exercise talk.
Yeah, we're digging into some perhaps surprising factors that
Yeah.
genuinely influence how long, and maybe more importantly, how well you live.
Think of this as your straight to the point guide for longevity. No fluff, just what you need to know.
Precisely. Actionable insights.
So let's kick things off with a big one. Vegetarian versus non-vegetarian. Which is better for living longer?
The classic debate. But what's really emerging is that the label isn't the main thing. It's the quality of the food that's the real game changer.
Quality, okay. How do we define that?
Well, here's a simple rule of thumb I heard. If your food would spoil if you left it in a box on the counter all day, that's probably the healthiest stuff.
Huh. That makes perfect sense. It immediately points the finger at processed foods, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Because real food goes bad. Processed food is designed not to. And that means we really need to become like detectives reading those labels.
So what are we looking for? What are the red flags on these labels?
Well, several things. For instance, artificial colors, like red 40. The fact that some places are banning these should tell you something, right?
Yeah, definitely raises questions.
And then there's the sheer length of the ingredient list. If it wraps around the package or needs its own separate section,
Right.
that's usually a sign it's heavily processed.
Okay. What else?
Watch out for words you just don't recognize.
Hmm.
Chemical-sounding names, and especially those INS codes.
INS codes. I've seen those.
Yeah.
What exactly are they and why the concern?
So INS stands for International Numbering System. They're basically just codes for food additives, preservatives, emulsifiers, things like that.
Okay.
The concern, based on, emerging science, is that some of these can really mess with your gut health. We're talking potential for leaky gut.
Leaky gut, where the intestinal lining is compromised.
Exactly. And if that happens, toxins can potentially get absorbed into your bloodstream, which can trigger inflammation, maybe even lead to autoimmune issues down the line.
Wow. Okay. So whether it's a veggie patty or a piece of chicken, we need to check what else is in there.
Precisely. It's about the whole package, not just the main ingredient.
Which brings us back to quality. So assuming we're choosing less processed options, what about moderation within, say, a non-vegetarian diet?
Moderation is absolutely key, always. And if you do eat meat, focus on the source. Things like country chicken or organic chicken are generally better than standard broilers.
Why is that? Less intervention in how they're raised.
Basically, yeah. More natural growth, perhaps fewer growth-promoting injections or unnatural feed. For red meat, ideally, you want grass-fed. What the animal ate matters.
And fish.
Fish is generally seen as beneficial, yeah. Good fats, but maybe not, 7 days a week. Variety is good.
Got it. And for vegetarians, any specific things they should keep an eye on for longevity?
Definitely. While a well-planned vegetarian diet can be incredibly healthy, there's a potential risk for deficiencies in things typically abundant in animal products.
Like what?
Certain essential amino acids, some B vitamins, B12 is the big one, and choline, which is important for brain health.
So conscious effort is needed. Maybe supplementation.
It's worth considering, yes. Getting blood work done can help identify any gaps. But the main takeaway for everyone is focus on what you're actually eating. Aim for variety, lots of color. Maybe try getting at least, say, 15 different types of fruits and vegetables in a week.
15. Okay,
Right.
that's a clear goal. It really shifts the focus from what you call your diet to what's actually in it.
Exactly. It's about the nutrients and avoiding the harmful additives.
All right, let's pivot slightly. Beyond food, how are our modern lifestyles kind of silently undermining our longevity?
Oh, in quite a few ways, unfortunately, and often without us realizing the full impact. I mean, look at the statistics. India, for example, is often called the diabetic capital, surpassing even China in cases.
That's staggering. And you're saying lifestyle is a major driver.
Hugely. It's not just genetics, it's tied strongly to our daily habits.
It's like, what specifically? What are we doing wrong?
Well, a big one is our eating patterns. Many people have really long eating windows, snacking from morning to late at night, and very short fasting windows overnight that constantly keeps insulin levels up.
Okay, so meal timing matters. What else?
We already touched on it, but relying on packaged foods, even ones marketed as healthy, is often a trap. They can be loaded with sodium, sugar, and those preservatives we talked about.
Right, the hidden junk.
And then there's how little we move. Sedentary behavior, Some experts are now saying it's as risky for your health as smoking.
Wow. That's a powerful
Yeah,
comparison.
it really is, which highlights the importance of activity. And not just talking about cardio, strength training is crucial.
Why strength training specifically?
It builds and maintains muscle mass, which is vital for metabolic health, bone density, and just overall functional ability as we age. Think of starting it in your, say, late 20s or early 30s as a serious investment in your future self.
An investment in not being frail later on. Makes sense. Okay, this links nicely to another fascinating concept.
Mm.
Biological versus chronological age.
Yes. This is such a key idea in longevity. Your chronological age is just the number of birthdays you've had. Simple.
Right. The calendar age.
But your biological age reflects how old your cells and organs functionally are. It's your body's true age based on wear and tear, lifestyle, genetics, environment, everything.
So you could be 50 chronologically, but your body might be functioning like a 30-year-old's. Or, worryingly, a 60-year-old's.
Precisely. And it's not even uniform across the body. Different organs can have different biological ages. Your skin might age faster due to sun exposure, while your heart's age reflects diet and exercise over decades.
That's incredible. Can we actually measure this biological age?
We're getting closer. Scientists are developing methods, often using blood tests. They look at various biomarkers, indicators of inflammation, metabolic health, organ function, even changes in DNA methylation patterns. Formulas like the Levine-Morgan phenotypic age calculation try to estimate it.
So it's becoming quantifiable.
Increasingly so, yes. And it really drives home how much our choices matter. I heard an anecdote about a researcher, Brian Johnson, who's in his late 40s, but through a very rigorous, data-driven health regime, claims to have the biological markers of someone much younger, maybe mid-30s.
Wow. Okay, that's maybe extreme, but it shows the potential.
Exactly. It illustrates the principle. Good diet, consistent exercise, quality sleep, stress management. These things genuinely seem to slow down that biological clock.
And the exciting part is, it's not too late to start.
Absolutely not. Even if you already have health conditions, making positive changes can still improve your biological age trajectory. Maybe the progress is slower, but you can still shift things in a healthier direction and lower your risk of age-related diseases. It's truly empowering.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about two huge factors you mentioned. Sleep and stress. So often overlooked, right?
Massively. Especially sleep. People think just lying in bed for 8 hours means they got good sleep. But it's much more nuanced than that.
You mean the different stages of sleep? Light, deep, REM.
Exactly. Each phase has critical functions. Deep sleep, for instance, is when your body does a lot of physical repair and releases growth hormone. REM sleep is vital for cognitive function, memory consolidation. If you're not getting enough of the right kinds of sleep, you're missing out.
So how do we know if we're getting quality sleep, not just quantity? Trackers help, I guess.
They can offer some data, yeah. But honestly, focusing on the lifestyle factors that promote good sleep is probably more effective for most people, and you don't need a gadget for that.
Okay, give us the rundown. What are the key habits for better sleep?
All right, number 1, manage your light exposure. Avoid bright screens, phones, tablets, TVs for at least, ideally, 2 hours before bed. Or if you must use them, use blue light blocking glasses or screen filters.
That blue light really messes with melatonin production, doesn't it?
It does. Number 2, watch your meal timing. Try to finish eating 2, preferably 3 hours before you go to sleep. Digestion raises your core body temperature, and you need a slight drop in temperature to initiate sleep.
Okay, no late-night heavy meals.
Especially protein-heavy ones. They can be quite stimulating. 3rd, consider a warm shower before bed. Sounds counterintuitive, maybe?
A little, yeah. Wouldn't that warm you up?
It brings blood flow to your skin, to your extremities, which actually helps radiate heat away and lowers your core body temperature, helping that natural dip.
Ah, clever. What else?
Make your bedroom a sleep sanctuary. Keep it cool, ideally around 22 degrees Celsius or 68, 70 Fahrenheit or whatever feels cool and comfortable for you. And make it dark.
Yeah.
Really dark. Blackout curtains if needed.
Cool and dark. Got it. Anything for the morning?
Yes. Crucial one. Get some natural sunlight exposure, preferably within the first half hour or hour of waking up. Step outside for a few minutes. That helps reset your body's internal clock, your circadian rhythm, for the whole day. Simple, but powerful. Okay, what about stress? The other side of the coin.
Modern stress. It's often not like, running from a tiger. It's this chronic, Low-grade stress, the constant pinging of notifications on our
We've
phones.
always on culture.
Exactly. Those little demands, those micro doses of stress, they add up. And the lines between work and personal life get so blurred. We don't have that clear end of the workday signal or a proper wind down process before trying to sleep.
So what can we do besides throwing our phones away?
Huh. Maybe not practical, but being more mindful helps. Ask yourself why you're picking up your phone. Is it urgent, necessary, or just habit? And consciously create a buffer zone before bed, read a book, listen to calm music, meditate, light stretching, something to signal to your brain it's time to switch off.
And physiologically, what's the link between poor sleep, chronic stress, and longevity?
A big one is insulin resistance.
So,
Both poor sleep and chronic stress can mess with your hormones, including cortisol and insulin. This makes your cells less responsive to insulin.
meaning your body struggles to manage blood sugar. Right. And that's a pathway to metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, inflammation, all things that accelerate aging. It means even if your diet is perfect, if your sleep and stress aren't managed, you're not getting the full benefit. Your body's just not in the right state.
That really highlights how interconnected it all is. What about sleep trackers again? You seemed a bit cautious.
They can be useful tools, don't get me wrong, but two pitfalls. One, some aren't rigorously validated, so the data might not be super accurate. Two, people can get obsessive about the scores.
The sleep anxiety thing.
Yeah, stressing about your sleep score, which then makes your sleep worse. It's better to use them smartly. Look at trends over weeks, not nightly scores. And pay attention to how you feel. Are you focused during the day? Productive? Do you need caffeine to get through the afternoon? Those are often better indicators than a number on an app.
Use the tech, don't let the tech use you. Good advice. Okay, this brings us to the idea of a longevity lifestyle.
Right.
It's clearly way more than just a diet.
Absolutely. It's about building sustainable, healthy habits across the board, not short-term fixes. And if we want to get a little technical about the biology,
Let's do it. What are the key pathways?
two really important ones often discussed are mTOR and AMPK.
Okay, mTOR and AMPK. Sounds like science class. Break it down for us.
So mTOR is essentially a pathway that signals cells to grow and multiply. It's important, but you don't want it switched on all the time. Constant activation is linked to accelerated aging and some diseases.
And how do we influence mTOR?
Primarily through protein intake. Constantly eating large amounts of protein keeps mTOR highly active. For general health, about 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight is recommended. For longevity benefits, maybe up to 1.2 or even 1.6 kilograms if you're very active and building muscle. But avoiding excessive intake, especially constantly throughout the day, seems beneficial for keeping mTOR in check.
Okay, so manage protein intake. What about AMPK?
AMPK is kind of the opposite. It's an energy sensor. When energy levels are a bit lower, AMPK gets activated, and it triggers processes like cellular cleanup, autophagy, and improving insulin sensitivity. It's generally seen as a pro-longevity pathway.
And how do we activate AMPK?
Several ways. Fasting is a major one.
Intermittent fasting.
Exactly. That period without food signals lower energy availability, activating AMPK. Even a simple 12-hour overnight fast, say 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., can be beneficial. Then people might gradually extend it to 14.10, 16.8.
16 hours fasting, 8 hours eating window.
Right. Or even longer fasts occasionally, though it's important to build up gradually and listen to your body. Effects can also differ slightly between men and women, so personalization is key.
Okay, fasting activates AMPK. What else?
Lowering carbohydrate intake, especially refined carbs and sugars, can help. Prioritizing whole, unprocessed grains in smaller portions, maybe earlier in the day, and choosing foods with a lower glycemic index, foods that don't spike your blood sugar as dramatically. Exercise is another potent AMPK activator.
Makes sense. You also mentioned sprouting dals or legumes earlier. Why is that relevant here?
Ah, good connection. Sprouting helps reduce anti-nutrients like phytates, which can bind to minerals and hinder their absorption. It basically makes the nutrients in those healthy foods more bioavailable and easier to digest. Better nutrient uptake supports overall health.
Okay. And you touched on this idea of hormetic stressors. Can you explain that a bit more?
Yeah, hormesis is fascinating. It's the idea that small, manageable doses of stress can actually make your body stronger and more resilient.
Like a vaccine introduces a small challenge.
Kind of, yeah. So intermittent fasting is a hormetic stressor. Exercise is another. You stress your muscles, they adapt and get stronger. Even some compounds in plants.
How so?
Many colorful fruits and vegetables contain phytonutrients, like polyphenols. These compounds are often produced by the plant when it's under stress from pests, sun, poor soil. When we eat them, they seem to create a tiny beneficial stress in our own cells, activating protective pathways like AMPK.
So eating stress plants is good for us.
In a way, yes, it underlines the importance of those colorful fruits and veggies. But again, the key with hormesis is the dose. Too much stress is harmful, a manageable amount makes you stronger. Introduce these things gradually.
Right. Don't jump into a 24-hour fast and a marathon on the same day.
Please don't. Gradual adaptation.
Okay, one final crucial piece. Reducing our toxin exposure. Seems unavoidable today.
It is challenging. We're exposed through air, water, food, even products we put on our skin. So we need to be mindful. Think about chemicals in skincare, hair products, household cleaners. Opt for simpler, more natural alternatives where possible.
And the environment itself, like air quality.
Absolutely. Remember that anecdote about Brian Johnson? He specifically mentioned tracking the impact of air quality, like in Delhi, on his biological age markers. Environmental toxins are a real factor.
So if exposure is somewhat inevitable, what can we do?
Focus on supporting your body's detoxification systems. Eat plenty of antioxidant-rich foods, those colorful plants again, to combat oxidative stress. Support liver health with foods like cruciferous vegetables. Stay hydrated. Basically, give your body the tools it needs to handle the unavoidable exposures.
So wrapping this all up, it really feels like longevity isn't about finding some magic pill or extreme diet.
Not at all. It's about making informed, consistent choices day in and day out. It's the sum of those small decisions, what you eat, how you move, how you sleep, managing stress, minimizing toxins.
It's a whole lifestyle approach. We've tried to cut through the noise today and give you precise, direct information you can actually use.
The goal is empowerment, giving you the knowledge to take control.
So as you listen to this, maybe think about one thing, just one small change you could implement starting today, based on what we've talked about. What's one step you can take on your own journey through a longer, healthier life?
What really stood out to you? That's often the best place to start.
And remember, subscribe for more healthy inspirations.
We'll see you in the next deep dive.
Stay